that is understood. And if we're talking about the ones like the Buddha and the Arahats and those who have highly developed understanding, at least Vipassana Jnana, then it is the direct understanding of reality then and there through the mind door. And it doesn't matter whether the visible object's experienced in the sense door or the mind door. It's exactly the same reality. But to be precise, it has to be nimitta of reality, that is experience that arises and falls away. When we're talking about, like now, understanding nimitta of reality, countless visible objects are experienced in order for that nimitta to appear. So nimitta is used in different contexts, even if it's referring to nimitta of reality. Right. And it depends on the degree of understanding, how close it is to the absolute reality itself.
Close to the sense door process.
Like in the case of the Buddha, then of course it doesn't need countless visible objects to be experienced for there to be understanding of the nimitta of visible object, because as soon as that visible object appears, it's understood instantly, just one. But for us, even if we're talking about direct understanding, it cannot be understanding of one visible object. There have to be countless experiences of visible object for there to be understanding of the nimitta of visible object. I don't know if Ajarn has anything to add.
Is there any particular relationship between the two kinds of nimitta?
I think enough to just know that it is always nimitta of reality, but it depends on the degree of understanding as to how close it is to the reality itself. Like in the case of the Buddha's understanding at the moment of sampatichana, there can't be understanding at that moment, but that characteristic of reality can appear instantly to panya, sense door, mind door. But for others, even if there's vipassana jnana, no direct understanding of sampatichana, if and it doesn't appear, and probably it doesn't appear because it's not the common object of understanding. And if it did, it would be because there were countless processes. So I don't think it really matters or helps to try to work out more than that, but just to know that accumulations of thinking are different, accumulations of understanding are different, degrees and levels are different, accumulations of what understanding understands is different. But for me, it's enough to know it must be nimitta of reality.
And because there are two things, when we, at least I did, I mean, without going into that, the other meaning of nimitta, that the nimitta, as we refer to as being because of the rising and falling of many realities, one after the other, very fast, is the nimitta, or because they are realities. Now it seems to be that nimitta is the result of the other nimitta. Means the nimitta we were just explaining to Anne about. This nimitta of like now is being experienced because of that nimitta, not because of that reality. You could say that reality brings that nimitta of reality, and then this nimitta is the result of this nimitta.
It's like to see a circle like in the fire, right?
Yeah.
All the circle join together. So it's like
if there was not that nimitta, there wouldn't be this nimitta.
It's like
it's true that we could say if there wasn't reality, there couldn't be nimitta, and if there wasn't nimitta of reality,
there couldn't be this.
When it's experienced, there couldn't be nimitta of reality now. But one has to be careful because it's not nimitta that conditions anything, because it's always nimitta of reality. So the conditions for visible object and the experiencing of nimitta of visible object is the prior experience of that visible object.
But actually, nimitta is also not a Dhamma because it's like thinking circle.
No, there are two. There's nimitta of reality is as good as saying it's Dhamma.
But how, Ajarn? How?
What's the
Because
other
nimitta
kind of
is like
nimitta?
thinking.
The other, which is nimitta in jhana.
Oh, jhana.
So different kinds of nimitta in different contexts.
How? I
That
don't
is-
get it. Can you explain? Someone explain.
Were you making a connection between the two?
No, I'm saying that he's saying both are the result of thinking. I'm saying no. One is.
Why? How?
Ajarn.
The example about the many dots and that go so fast that you see a circle, it's a little confusing for me because when you say that nimitta cannot condition anything, right? So when I think about that example, let's say that I'm a person who gets scared of circles, right? So when if I would actually see the dots, I would not fear would not arise. But at the moment when I see the whole circle, fear will arise. So it's only the nimitta which is producing.
But it seems it's a bit like if one's afraid of snakes or afraid of ghosts, it seems like it's the ghost or the snake that's conditioning the fear, or here the circle. But the real cause of the fear is the accumulated fear in the past, no matter it's fear about snakes or fear about ghosts or fear about nimitta and dots. It's the accumulated fear that's the condition. Otherwise, no conditions for that fear to arise.
But if there's not the suitable object, then the fear would not arise. If the snake is not there,
But the tendency will lie dormant. The anagami, under no circumstances, will fear arise because all dosa has been eradicated. Now we're sitting here, no conditions for fear to arise, maybe for 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, but the
Right.
tendency is there, ready to, when it's the suitable object, ready for to arise. And it seems that the condition is the snake or the person or the dots, but
It's
it's
not.
the tendency of fear that
So-
conditions that are arising when circumstances change.
so if a snake comes into the room, you cannot say that the snake is a condition. Only the inner.
Only by being the object, just as the object, but the real condition is
I mean,
the
the real-
accumulated tendency of fear.
But you
And
can-
at that moment, the snake is the object, just aramana
But
paccaya.
the object is not a condition. You cannot.
Only by being the object of the fear, that's all.
Yeah,
But
it's
the
your kilesa.
accumulate, it's
I
the
think the analogy of the fire stick is one can't take it too far, because in the sense we are using the term nimitta right now, it's just the rapid rising and falling away of a given Dhamma, which is the means by which the Dhamma is experienced. So it's not a case of, in the case of the fire stick, it talks about drawing a circle or maybe a figure eight or whatever. But that is only relevant so far as the actual point of the fire stick isn't seen as just that. So the Dhamma that's arising and falling away very rapidly is experienced by means of its nimitta.
And in that case of the fear, it is the fear that has been accumulated in the past, and it can be fear of snakes, so that fear of that particular object has been accumulated, so that there are conditions for fear of that object. Like if the fear of ghosts has been accumulated, then whenever one hears the word ghost, there is fear instantly, fear with that as object. But it's the fear itself that is accumulated, the thinking with fear about this or that object.
Fear can fear anything, but fear is a kilesa, right? It's not that the object makes you fear. but it's because it's the kilesa.
Yes, that was the point we were making. Yes.
But I want to ask about nimitta. Can someone explain? I'm still confused. Ajarn, can you?
Now, nimitta.
Yeah, they have to be.
It's now and
It's now.
here.
Because they have to have rise and fall of the reality, then nimitta can arise. Then is
Just close your eyes and open. When you just open, at the beginning, is it thinking or because?
thinking rapidly.
Yeah, but there is a difference. There'll be thinking followed that start to distinguish between this and that. But before the distinguishing, there's also a sense of something out there. Means panorama.
But that is like thinking. The Dhamma is only see colors, only not the shape or blah 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 is thinking.
Yeah. You think, but you can imagine also that before that thinking, there must be many realities.
No, the thinking imagines. See can't imagine. See only see colors.
But see doesn't see just one. There's not only one seeing.
I could give an example that I don't know if it will help or not, but someone once explained to me that a calculator with a digital display is only actually showing one digit at a time. But it looks as though there are 5 or 6 digits showing continuously, but in fact they are just momentary switching on and off of the different digits in the display. So in that sense, what is being experienced is not the reality, because it's only one on at a time, and it would be but we see the whole number as a continuous thing. So that's just an analogy that you may or may not find helpful, because for the reality, whether it's visible object or seeing consciousness, arise and falls away so rapidly that what awareness or understanding experiences is a period of the reality rather than the individual risings and fallings away.
Okay, like let's say that through eyes door, nimitta is the nimitta of when we think of shape or person, because it's color and nimit. And when we from the ear door, like the sound, right? It's actually we think of a language but language or word is just Indian. It's just the thinking because of nimitta of a rapid.
Well, that's a different issue. That's
or
a different
smell
issue.
or
That
taste
is a question of attending to the detail.
So that has to be thinking, right? It cannot. It's
Of
not
course,
a Dhamma.
it's thinking. Yes.
So nimitta is not a Dhamma actually.
No, you're confusing attending to the detail with the experiencing of the reality by its nimitta, because if we want to talk about nimitta in that example, the hearing of sound, if there is awareness of the sound that is heard, it won't be awareness of a single moment of sound, it'll be awareness of many, many moments of sound that are rising and falling away and appear to be continuous. That's the nimitta effect. The thinking about the detail gives one the concept, is a condition for concept about words and meaning, but that's not the nimitta.
But actually Dhamma is only single, and Dhamma we think as a whole, but whole is the idea. Dhamma is only at the momentary.
Are you listening or are you telling
No,
him?
No, I'm listening.
He's just trying to explain to you.
Yeah.
So, but you're not quite listening.
No,
yeah.
I'm listening, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still getting
Yeah.
confused.
Yeah. If you listen,
okay,
it's.
No, I'm.
Yeah.
But Dhamma can tell us.
No, but also one thing, you can appreciate that when it's under direct understanding satipatthana, even then it is nimitta, and direct understand the characteristic. So even rise and fall appears because it's reality, not thinking. If it's thinking, then the characteristic won't appear, because concept don't have characteristics.
At the moment of when seeing consciousness, can there be understanding when seeing consciousness is the object?
Because that time sees only.
Because seeing only arises in the idle process, and in the idle process, only visible object is the object. So at a moment of seeing, when seeing arises, there cannot be panya at that moment. So how is it possible for seeing to be the object of understanding?
So it had to be many seeing.
Just consider carefully, just listen carefully. So seeing, for seeing to be the object of panya, can it be the actual seeing consciousness that is the object? Only because by way of nimitta. If it's not the nimitta of seeing, then seeing can never be the object. And in fact, because the panya is, even if it's direct understanding, it cannot just be, I cannot just understand one moment of seeing. There have to be countless moments of seeing. But even in the case of the Buddha, panya cannot arise at the same moment of seeing. So it's always nimitta of reality, which is experienced through the mind door. So that's enough. And if there's reality, there is no, without reality, there cannot be nimitta of reality. And without nimitta of reality, there cannot be thinking about reality, which is what you were talking about. So just consider that.
But we can all appreciate that Dhamma is only one by one, right? We can all appreciate
Everyone knows that, yes. It arises, every Dhamma arises and falls away, but that wasn't the question or the answer.
So nimitta is actually because of many individual one Dhamma arise alone.
Just listen. If you just listen a little patiently, then it's yeah.
Oh. A bit okay.
Consider it.
Okay.
Think about it. And you had another question. You
I did. Jonathan said something the other day. Sorry, I do. Be on the
Just
ready.
while you're looking for that,
Okay.
going back to Harjit's sutta that he quoted, Ajarn said it's all about akusala, different kinds of akusala. And I think the sutta, the understanding of the sutta is that what people fear most or worried about most is losing worldly wealth or health, for example. But they're not so concerned about loss of sila or understanding, because they don't appreciate that of the two, the latter is much more serious than the former. But we cling so much to worldly things that we don't appreciate the significance. So
Yes, Jonathan, you said something the other day, and I'm pretty sure I've got it quoted right here. Is it possible that thinking can coordinate what experiences through the 5 doorways to produce objects and ideas?
yes.
You said that, yes, something like that. Anyway,
right.
you did. So I started thinking about, is that possible, that thinking can coordinate
That it's
experiences
thinking.
through? Yes, it's thinking.
Can I just mention the
Yes.
context? Yeah. Someone said they had an idea of a soul,
Yes.
the function of which was to coordinate all the different experiences, sense door, including sense door experiences that happen. So I was coming back and saying, is it possible that that function of coordinating, because now we see a room full of people
Yes.
and we're hearing and can understand the conversation that's going on, that requires a lot of coordination of different sense door experiences. So is it necessary to have the idea of a soul in order to get that coordination? Can we not consider the possibility that it's just mental activity
Yes.
which
Okay.
performs that coordinating function?
Okay, thank you.
And I have a.
Could,
Sorry.
could we use the example of a computer in to explain that? In the sense that we could think. I mean, if I was a primitive person, I would think that a computer needs a soul in order to coordinate all its functions. but it doesn't. Is that the same thing as in the case of the human experience, or
But my
process?
question, I'm still confused about the idea of coordination, because that's just thinking, right? And our tendency to see in terms of self and others and situations. And so I'm questioning even why we are trying to explain coordination.
Well, I understood the questioner to be talking about the fact that when you are talking, I see your lips moving, so the hearing of the sound is coordinated with the visual image. That sort of coordination. Conventional idea.
Ajarn, I have a question about, which I was discussing with someone, and I've forgotten who I was discussing it with, about viveka described by way of the pahanas, the abandonings. Now, it refers to this in the text. It defines viveka by way of the 5 kinds of pahana, starting with Tadanga pahana at moments of vipassana jnana. And so I was thinking about the kinds of viveka that the text refer to, kaya viveka, chitta viveka, and upadi viveka, and how they are defined by way of different kinds of abandoning. So I just would like to go through them a little bit slowly. So starting with kaya viveka, if we talk about kaya viveka as being defined by these different kinds of pahana, so kaya viveka, the living alone with understanding, so by way of Tadanga, Pahana, Vipassana, Jnana, and so on. Is there anything more to say?
all depends on right understanding, right? When there's right understanding, would you like to keep company with many people?
No, not necessarily.
That's another
No clinging
meaning
to
of kaya
being with people.
viveka.
Yes.
With panya.
Yes. So when it is panya of the degree of different kinds of pahana, no matter whether it's of the degree of vipassana jnana or the next one, development of samatha
think
to
that
jhana, it's
When he taught just one word, he talked all about everything.
everything, yes.
Not just-
So one word viveka, then it's actually
He
referring
explained a lot
to
about
every kind of
everything,
pahana
yes.
or every kind of abandoning of degrees and kinds. And so in this sense, when it says it can be described in ways of pahana, does it just mean literally these kinds just at levels of vipassana, jnana, jhana and enlightenment, or any
It
development?
depends on what is there at that
Yes,
very moment.
Right, okay. Yeah, because it has to develop and grow, yes. And so the next one, the citta viveka, just referring to any moment of understanding, whether alone or with others, by way of pahana, and the last one to the eradication of defilements. So of course then it just refers to the last kinds of pahana that relate to enlightenment, I think.
When there is understanding of the word viveka, and when it arises, no doubt about the place of what kind of viveka is there.
Yes, yes. Okay, thank you. Upadi viveka, yes, at moments of enlightenment, yes. So then if it's by way of the pahanas, then it's the last 3 pahanas are referring to magga, citta and samucceda pahana, the cutting off of defilements, and the last one, nisarana, to nibbana itself. So we can see that this is upadi viveka. Yeah.
it all right to ask a question? I have this from, I was reading the chapter of the factors leading to enlightenment from Survey of Paramatta Dhammas, page 321. There is this about the enlightenment factor of calm, passaddhi. These are the cetasikas that are calm of cetasikas, kaya passaddhi, and calm of chitta, chitta passaddhi. I understand this, well, calm of chitta, chitta passaddhi, but the kaya, usually body? Oh yes, Vedana cetasika.
The body of